All right, folks, the lawyers have reached a stipulation, and that's, as we talked about before, that's an agreement so that there'll be no further evidence offered on these topics, and you're directed to accept what is stipulated as conclusively proved in the case. And in this case, the lawyers have agreed that it is stipulated between the parties that the dates and times reflected on exhibits States 88, States 89, and States 90 accurately reflect the dates and times these items were recorded by the clock on the Jensen home computer. It is further agreed that the times reflected in the Internet History Exhibit 90 were 1 hour behind on dates preceding October 25th, 1998 at 2 a.m. due to daylight savings time. Is that a correct statement of the agreement, Mr. John Boyce, Mr. Albee?
Yes, Judge.
All right, any question about that, folks? Okay, fine, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe I've already moved exhibits S88, S89, and S90 into evidence, and I believe they've been accepted in evidence. I will just want to ensure that now they're accepted, received into evidence in their entirety, and it's not necessary for me to go through each item in each one of those exhibits in order to be able to talk about them or discuss them with the jury in my closing argument.
The only question is in, I think it's Exhibit 89, there's a summary page, and that would be my one question. I have an objection to the summary pages at this time.
Well, I'm going to receive them subject to the court's later consideration of the reserved objection.
Well, with that, I don't have a problem with that portion of counsel's reservation. So with the understanding that the counsel's talking about this summary right here on this page, and on a number of these pages, there's these summary pages. I don't have any objection to excluding the summary pages as part of this, but it's understood that the remainder then of exhibits S88, S89, and S90 are received into evidence in their entirety.
Well, the calendar's got some problematic aspects as well, but I don't have a problem with the internet files that make up the exhibit.
Okay, that's acceptable. And,
right.
and that's, you're talking about S89, but then S88 and S90 are received in their entirety? That's the internet history and the internet files. Correct?
They are. We'll need to take up something out of the jury's presence, but I have no objection. They've already been admitted, so.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Mr. Jamboys.
I will in a moment, General. Okay. And Mrs. Mitchell, I'm going to direct your attention now to the index.dat files. Are they in front of you there?
Yes.
And what's the exhibit number?
S110.
And let me make sure that this, that I put here is the same thing that you have. Turn that microphone off. This was originally file 86, D80, exhibit D86, now it's S110. Okay. Now, will you please tell the jury what this document, this 3-page document reflects? What is an index.dat file?
An index.dat file is the file that Internet History is housed in.
And what does this index.dat file reflect that we do not already cover from that we do not already know from looking at S88, the Internet files, and S90, the Internet history?
What? I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
What does the index.dat file? What information does the index.dat file convey to us that we could not already derive from Exhibit S88, the Internet file, and Exhibit S90, the Internet history?
Well, Exhibit 90, the Internet Histories information is derived from the information found in the index.dat files. The difference being in the two exhibits would be that I can tell in some instances what index.dat file information came out of. I can also tell when that particular index.dat file was created and last accessed and whether or not it was deleted.
So directing your attention to item number 8, for example, on exhibit, is it S1, what's the exhibit number again? I mean,
S110.
okay. Directing your attention to item number 8 on exhibit S110. It's on the bottom of the first page. And that reflects file created December 2nd, 1998 at 2:31:04 a.m., correct?
Correct.
And it reflects that it was last written at 12:02:98 at 06:49:30 a.m.
Correct.
And then underneath that, it reads, is deleted full path. What is that? What does that mean?
The words "is deleted" is a topic, and to the right of that you'd see that there's a dot which indicates that that index file is deleted. Underneath that, the words "full path" indicate where that file came from. In this particular instance, it came out of recovered folders, so that's all the information we have. We don't know whether that index file came from a weekly, daily history, whether it came from the cookies or the temporary internet files.
Do you know when it was deleted?
It would have had to be deleted after 6:49:30 a.m. and previous to the next index.dat file.
And when would be the next index.dat file?
Let's see. I believe that would be the next index.dat file that we're able to show would be on the same day at 7:33:30 p.m.
So what this tells you is that this file that was accessed on December 2nd, 1998,
Objection, leading.
Well, rephrase the question, Mr.
so this file that was last accessed on December 2nd, 1998 at 6:49:30 a.m. would have had to have been deleted at some time between that.
Well, the case of the state against proper, as old as it is and as odd as it is still the law in this state. That if the question can be answered yes or no, so the objections are no.
I'll put it this way.
Yes, it's proper against the state.
Can you state whether or not this entry, item number 8, reflecting a file being last written on December 2nd, 1998 at 6:49:30 a.m., and then the existence of another index.dat file on December 2nd at 7:33:30 p.m., whether or not that causes you to draw any inferences as to when the file last written at 6:49 a.m. on December 2nd was deleted.
It would have had to have been deleted after 6:49 a.m. and before 7:33 p.m. on that specific date, because the computer will create a new index.dat file if the previous one is deleted or non-existent.
Now, if you had turned the computer on December 5th, 1998, and looked at the internet history, would you have found any of these sites regarding ethylene glycol that were accessed on December 2nd and December 3rd, 1998?
You wouldn't have found any of the sites accessed because all of the index.dat files were deleted for that time period.
They were deleted during what time period?
Actually, the only index.dat files that I was able to retrieve or recover that was not deleted was, for some reason, an index.dat file from July of '98. All the rest were deleted, except the root directories, which would be typical in any computer. Most computers are set to a 20-day default. So after 20 days, your history is going to recycle or delete itself. However, the frequency of created DAT files between December 2nd and December 3rd, specifically in those 2 dates, tells me that the internet history was being intentionally deleted.
The internet history that pertained to ethylene glycol and poisoning?
All of it.
That's vague, I don't understand.
All of it?
All of what?
I assumed she meant all
of the history.
All history that existed?
Explain your answer, would you please?
All of the history that was created in between those dates and times would be deleted.
What days and times?
December 2nd and 3rd? Well, you answered the question.
I specifically was pointing out December 2nd and 3rd, although all of the internet history is being deleted or has been deleted, except, like I said, for the one history file, which appears to be a daily history file from July 16th and 17th.
So all this, well, let's talk about the internet history that pertained to the Anarchist Cookbook and botulism and the Jolly Roger and pipe bombs. Was all that internet history deleted?
At some point, yes.
And how does the existence of the index.dat files inform you one way or another as to whether this was inadvertently deleted or intentionally deleted?
By the frequency of their creation dates.
Now, once again, relating back to a question that was posed to you on cross-examination, would it make a lot of sense to you if a person was looking to commit suicide and frame their husband for murder? Does it make a lot of sense to intentionally delete all the sites indicating that he was looking up ways to commit murder?
Objection.
Sustained.
No further questions.
Well, is it your claim that you can tell that internet history was deleted intentionally from July on?
No, it's not my claim from July on.
You can't tell me how the history was deleted in July, right?
Correct.
You can't tell me how the history was deleted in August.
Correct.
You can't tell me how it was deleted in September.
Correct.
You have no information as to how it was deleted in October.
October. October is possible.
Well, you said the default is every 20 days, right?
Correct.
The operating system would have deleted the October history by December, right?
Correct.
So you can't tell whether it was regularly deleted throughout the month of October, right?
Well, actually, if you look at the DAT file report, number 9 shows a creation date of 10/27/98, last written 10/28, indicates it was deleted, and there's also an index.dat file number 19 created on the 26th and last written to on the 26th. It's also deleted. So within 24 hours, there were 2 index.dat files.
Well, and how many days are in October?
These 2 were in consecutive days.
How many days are in October?
31?
So what happened the other 29 days?
They weren't recoverable.
Were these daily, weekly, monthly index.dats? What were they?
Neither one of these I'm able to tell because they came out of recovered space, unallocated space.
And number 9, if that was a daily, that would explain its deletion, wouldn't it?
It's possible.
It's possible. You can't say that one was intentionally deleted, can you?
I can't say for 100% sure.
You can't say to any percent sure. It's possible either way, that it was intentionally done or deleted by the operating system, right?
Yes.
And similarly with most of November, you don't know whether it was the operating system or a user, right? That was deleting it?
I would disagree with that statement.
All right. All right, tell me on what basis you can tell me from November 1 to November 15 that anybody intentionally deleted a file.
Between those 2 dates, I can't tell you that. I don't have any information from those 2 dates.
And when the computer was turned on 12/17 by the police, would that cause some deletion of older index.dat files?
May have.
That's the kind of information we would lose, right?
Could be.
And we would lose the ability to determine whether it was intentionally deleted or deleted by the operating system by it being turned on December 17th, right?
Right?
And the kind of information we also lose by it being turned on December 17th is information that may have been in unallocated space, right?
Say that again.
Information in unallocated space could be overwritten by activities on December 17th, right?
Could be.
And that might have included additional internet history, right?
I suppose so.
Is that a yes?
It could be. Yes, it could be.
Now, on December 2nd, it's index.dat in exhibit, I'm sorry, what is the exhibit? I have the old exhibit number.
S110.
S110, number 3, which shows that there was a file created on December 2nd, 1998 at 2:31 a.m. and it was last written at 2:34 a.m., correct?
Correct.
And you don't know what caused that index.dat to be last written at 2:34 a.m., do you?
No, I don't.
And so you can't say that somebody intentionally deleted that file at that time at 2:34, right?
That's correct.
It's your opinion that some of the other December 2nd and 3rd activity was intentionally deleted or likely intentionally deleted?
It's my opinion that it was intentional.
And that's just because of the frequency, right?
Yes. Frequency of the created DAT files, yes.
Right, right. So it looks like at 6 a.m. on December 2nd, 7:43 p.m. on December 2nd, and 7:40 a.m. on December 3rd, someone deleted files, perhaps.
Can you refer to which number you're looking
Sure, yeah, I'm sorry. Number 7 says, looks like somebody may have deleted it at 7:43 p.m. on December 2nd, is that right?
Well, that's when it was last written too.
And Number 8, 6:49 a.m. is last written,
Correct.
correct? Number 12 is we have an 11:23 p.m., right?
Last written.
And at December 3rd at 7:40 a.m., correct?
What number?
Oh, that's number 14.
Correct. There was another index.dat file on December 3rd at 7:40 a.m.
Now, number 4, number 5, number 6 are all index.dats that were last written, last accessed on December 17th, right?
Correct.
And that's information that was changed when the police turned it on that date, true?
Correct.
And that's the kind of activity that would cause other data to be overwritten, true?
True.
Sorry.
I object to the music on Mr. Jam was
I don't like it either, and I didn't pick it out. I want to make that clear. But I'll turn it off. And I apologize for the interruption.
Well, we've all had one now, I think.
We have. Well, except Ms. Gabrielle is innocent so far.
Let me show you Defendant's Exhibit 111. If you could take, it's a 4-page document. If you could just take a look at it, read it yourself for a moment. 111.
Turn the damn thing off. Sorry. Now it's...
Oh, 111.
D111?
Yeah. Have you had a chance to review those 4 pages?
Yes.
And would you agree that these pages reflect how to delete history on Internet Explorer?
Yes.
I would move Defendant's Exhibit 111.
Any objections?
In 1998, did it say that?
In 1998, this would have been the case as well.
I would think it'd be very similar.
I object unless there's a foundation established that she knows what the procedure was in 1998, Your Honor.
It's a legitimate objection.
Oh, it is. Is it your understanding that history was deleted in the same manner in 1998 as it is now?
Very similar. I would assume very similar. We're talking about Internet Explorer version 4. And I guess I can't say for certain whether it's exactly the same as this.
Do you recall that Windows 90 would be in the Windows 98 or the Internet Explorer we'd be talking about?
This would be in IE4.
Okay.
Your Honor, may I have a moment with counsel?
Yep.
I'll withdraw my objection, Your Honor.
So I'd move Defense Exhibit 111.
No objection.
It will be received.
And Judge, I request permission to try to sort of show this to the jury as I have Ms. Mitchell go through the pages.
Oh.
I can't put it on. I'll sit there.
I think you can take that off the screen and put that and use the Elmo.
She can switch it on that touch screen.
You can switch it.
Well, somebody familiar with the courtroom is probably she's I don't know if she does.
Very good.
Yes.
And does that explain the first step in terms of deleting history? That you would click on the tools at the top of the page? That is correct?
Yes.
And when you clicked on tools, then what would happen on the screen is the following, correct? You get that drop down, bar,
Correct.
and then you click on Internet Options on the drop down bar.
Correct.
And when you clicked on Internet Options, that's the box you get, correct?
Correct.
And then you click on Clear History to clear the history, correct?
Correct.
And right above that box, there's a box for temporary internet files, correct?
Yes.
And if you wanted to delete all your temporary internet files, all you'd have to do is click on Delete Files, right?
Correct.
And you didn't see any indication that that had been done?
No.
So at no time are you aware of anyone using the Jensen computer eliminating the temporary internet files?
It doesn't appear, since there's so many on the computer, it doesn't appear that they were ever deleted.
And if you're trying to hide your tracks, that's something you could do, right?
If you knew how.
And it would just require that clicking on delete files there, right?
Correct.
And then the last step on the history is you get this box that says, are you sure you want Windows to delete your history of visited websites? And you click yes.
Correct.
And then the history would be gone.
Correct.
And it would be the same 4 steps to delete your temporary internet files.
Correct.
Initially on redirect, you indicated that in order to determine if the WinStar site had been deleted, you'd have to look at index.dat.
Yeah, I also indicated that I misspoke. I thought Mr. Jambois was referring to the internet history when actually he was referring to the internet files.
Okay. And you said usually the default setting for the operating system to delete files is 20 days, right?
Correct.
But you have no idea what the Jensen home computer was set at during July through December, right?
Actually, I do know that it was set at 20 days default.
It was set at 20 days default as of the time you received that computer for the activity through December 17th, right?
Correct.
But that's something that can be changed all the time, correct?
Absolutely.
And so you don't know what it was in July or August or September or October or November, right?
That's right.
Now, on Cross, I'd asked you about third-party cookies and you weren't familiar with them.
Correct.
And then Mr. Jambois asked you a question and you gave a definition of third-party cookies.
That's correct.
How'd that come about?
I got thinking and I went through some of the internet history and through what you had talked to me about, raised some recollection in my mind.
And did you talk to somebody else about third-party cookies then?
No.
The internet history and the internet files reflect that Paxil was looked at approximately 2:31 to 2:34 a.m. as you just went through with Mr. Jambois. You recall that?
Yes.
And were you aware from reading the background in this case that Mr. Jensen, well, actually before I ask that, were you able to tell whether those files had been printed?
No, sir.
did you make an effort to check whether any of those internet files had been printed? But is that something you could have done?
I suppose I could have.
And you were aware from Detective Ratsberg's investigation that soon after Mr. Jensen's wife passed away, that he told Detective Ratsberg he had been looking up Paxil with his wife on December 2nd at 2:30 in the morning.
Objection, Your Honor. This is hearsay coming from this side of the table.
I guess I'm not offering for its truth but as to why she didn't check if it was printed or not.
The objection is sustained.
In the internet history that Mr. Jamboys was going through with you on December 2nd, there were things like DoubleClick, right?
I believe so.
And were some of those potentially pop-ups as well?
It's possible.
And were those kinds of things counted as hits on the internet? For pop-ups and ads and cookies?
Reflected hits in relation to what?
Well, you testified in your earlier direct today about hits, and I'm just wondering if those would be included.
We talked about hits in different capacities, charts, keyword searches. I'm not sure which you're referring to.
Okay. I'm gonna withdraw the question. That's all I have.
Any questions, Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Ms. Mitchell, when going through Exhibit S-110 with you, counsel had made reference to that you couldn't draw any inferences about November through November 15th, November 1st and November 15th about deletion of files. What about November 15th through November 30th? Is there any information in Exhibit S-110 that can cause you to draw any inferences about whether or not there was an intentional deletion of files in November of 1998?
There appears to be the frequency of the index.dat file creations became more frequent, I believe, from the 21st of November, 22nd, 25th, 26th, 28th. So it does appear that it would be my opinion that the intentional act of deletion was starting to occur or taking place at that point in time.
In the last half of November.
Correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Well, can you tell me those, number 10, for instance, is a file created on November 25th, 1998 at 10:44 p.m. and last written on 10:59 p.m. on the same day, right?
Correct.
That could be a daily index.dat, right?
Could be.
And there's not an increased number, it's just that those are the only files that are within the 20-day period, right?
Could be.
You wouldn't expect to have daily index.dats from early November or October or September or August, right?
But I don't know that that is a daily.
Well, did you check?
It's covered others. You can't check.
So you don't know, right?
Correct.
I mean, and why, What basis are you assuming that it's purposeful deletion? Because you would expect dailies to show up in late November, but not earlier, right?
Correct.
Here's what I'm saying. The operating system, there's a daily index.dat, right?
Yes.
And the operating system will delete that daily?
After the 20-day default.
Right. And so all those daily index.dats from October, the computer, the operating system eliminates those, right?
After the default.
Right. But we're in December, so you know those would have been eliminated because they're all after the 20 days, right?
Not as of December 3rd. They wouldn't have been past the 20 days.
October.
I thought we were talking about November.
I went back to October.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all
Apologize.
right.
October would not. Correct.
Right. And so when you're talking about seeing increased deletion, there wouldn't be any from October, right? Those would be gone.
They should be gone, yes.
The dailies. True?
It's true.
And similarly, the beginning of November, you wouldn't expect to see any daily index.dats, correct?
Correct.
But then you could see them for November, late November, true?
True.
And so this could just be completely attributable to the operating system, right?
Except they're deleted.
Right, and does the operating system delete them?
It will after 20 days.
And when you turned it on December 17th?
That could delete the index.dat files from the previous 20 days.
And that would explain number 10, number 11, right?
Yes. Could.
And number 15.
Could.
Yes, it could, right?
Yes, it could.
And number 16, right?
Could.
And is there some reason you think that we should guess the other way?
Well, number 16, there's an index.dat file created on 11/22 at 2:43 p.m. And there's another one created 11/22 at 8:57 p.m. That would indicate to me that the previous index.dat file was deleted because the computer created a new one later on that evening.
Right, so that would explain maybe one of those 5 days as being an intentional deletion, right?
Yes.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, and it doesn't take much to confuse me on computers, but let's go back to number 15 on this Exhibit S110. Number 15 is a file that was created November 21st, an index.dat file created November 21st, 1998, correct?
Correct.
Then there's another index.dat file created November 25th, 1998.
Well, there's two of them in between there on the 22nd.
Okay. Now, the fact that an index.dat file is created November 22nd, does that tell you anything about this file of November 21st?
Tells me that that was deleted.
So it wasn't just a daily delete. It would indicate to you it was deleted with the creation.
That's leaving.
Well, if I'm wrong, she'll tell me. The fact that it's created, that there's a file, index.dat file created November 22nd, 1998 at 2:43 p.m. What does that tell you about this index.dat file that was deleted but had been created November 21st, 1998 at 11:08 p.m.?
It would mean that 1120, the index.dat file in 1121 was deleted, and the computer needed to create a new one on 11/22 at 2:43 p.m. just
So-
like it needed to create a new one at 8:57 PM that evening.
So does that mean that the index.dat file that was created on November 21st, 1998 at 10:49 PM and was last written on November 21st at 11:08 PM, and then it says it was deleted, does that mean it was deleted before November 22nd, 1998 at 2:43 PM?
Yes,
And certainly that wouldn't be because of a 20-day default, correct?
correct.
And let's go to the one of November 22nd, 1998, that was created at 2:43 PM as reflected on item number 16. It's created at 2:43 PM, correct?
Correct.
Last written at 3:09 PM, correct?
Correct.
And then on item 17, there's a file created November 22nd, 1998 at 8:57 PM, correct?
Correct.
And the fact that file was created on November 22nd, 1998 at 8:57 PM means that this previous file, it is, and she disagrees with me, she can.
I have to agree with that.
With which?
That it is leading, and that if she disagrees, she can say no.
So the objection is overruled?
You are correct.
I just want to make sure. So,
Although it would be preferred if you asked it in a non-leading way.
well, okay. I'll try to do that then. Mrs. Mitchell, looking at items 16 and item 17. Describe item 16 for the benefit of the jury.
Item 16 is an index.dat file created at 2:43:18 PM on November 22nd.
And you know, I'm going to even try to use this piece of equipment here. Let's see
Okay.
if I can get it right. Can you read that up there? Okay, now we can all be talking about the same thing.
Use the pointing device if you would.
Are you talking to me, Your Honor?
Either or both.
You.
Okay. I want to make sure I'm not in the jury's way here. So, looking right here at item number 16, and I hope the whole jury can read it, but it says file created November 22nd, 1998 at 2:43 PM, correct?
Correct.
And it's last written at 3:09 PM, correct?
Correct.
And then it says down here is deleted. Doesn't say when precisely it was deleted, does it?
Correct.
But then you skip down here to item number 17. And this is an index.dat file created November 22nd, 1998 at 8:57 PM. Now, based upon your training and your experience as a forensic computer analyst, what inference can you draw about when item number 16 was deleted on this computer based upon the fact that this one was created at 8:57 PM?
Item number 16 was deleted.
And was it deleted before the creation of item number 17?
Yes.
And why do you know that?
Because the computer would not have recreated another index.dat file had it not been deleted.
So then looking at this item, number 17, which was created November 22nd at 8:57 PM and was last read apparently at 8:54 PM, a few seconds later, and then it was deleted at some time, correct?
Correct.
And now we have an item down here, November 28th, 1998. I don't even know if that was the next item, but we know that there was an item, an index.dat file created November 28th, 1998 at 58 seconds past midnight, correct?
Correct.
And and that was last written on December 23rd, November 28th, 1988 at 12:23 a.m., 23 minutes past midnight, correct?
Correct.
Now, we know that even without looking at anything else on exhibit,
The continued reading, Judge.
Objection, overruled. Go ahead.
we know that just looking at item number 18, which is a new index.dat file created at 12 midnight, 58 seconds past midnight, we know just by looking at that, without looking at anything else, that this file, number 17, must have been deleted before the creation of this file, correct?
Correct.
Oh, here it is. Get back to pointer. And if I haven't already done so, Your Honor, I would move Exhibit S110 into evidence.
Is there objection?
No.
It will be received.
Where is S110, the original exhibit? Is that in your hands, sir? Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Any question?
There's a daily index.dat, true?
True.
And each day a new one is begun, correct?
True.
And if you don't look for the daily index.dats beyond the default period, until beyond the default period, then it will have been deleted. True?
Say that again.
So, just for example, November 25th, well, then let me back up a little bit. November 20th, there's a daily index.dat, correct? I'm not asking it to look at the index.dat in this case, but just for November 20th of any particular year, there's a daily index.dat, right?
If the internet's accessed, yes.
And then November 21, another one is created, right?
Yes.
And if it's set to the default of 20 days, after December 10th, the November 20th index.dat will be deleted, right?
Yes.
And so when we look, for example, at number 10, that's November 25th, and it shows file created 10:44 and last written at 10:59 p.m. That could be explained by being a daily index.dat that was only used between those times, right?
Yes.
And then because December 17th is beyond the 20 days, if the default was 20 days, then it would be deleted, right?
Yes.
And if the default period was shorter than, could have been deleted by the operating system even earlier, true?
If the default was shorter.
Yes,
Than
shorter
20
than 20 days.
Sure, yes.
Or some of these may have been intentionally deleted, and some of them may have been deleted by the operating system. That's another possibility, right?
Right.
There's no reason to try to jam these all in one hole. Some could be from the operating system, and some could have been deleted by the user.
In
Correct?
November?
Yes.
In November, yes.
Well, and that's true in December too. Let me ask just one question about the December. Tell you what I'm getting at. On December 3, this is number 14. It says file created 7:40:16 a.m. Last written 7:40:18 a.m. And that file is deleted. What reason would there be for having a 2-second file?
Objection calls for speculation on the part of the witness, Your Honor.
Well, if there's a technical reason for it, I suppose we'll hear the answer, but if it's just her opinion.
Yeah,
then-
that's what I'm getting at.
I don't know.
Would there be some kind of computer glitch or something that would cause that sort of thing?
I don't know what you define as a computer glitch.
Well, you'd have to acknowledge that to have an index.dat that's 2 seconds long, in the dial-up world, you wouldn't even have time to go to a site, right?
Well, you might, but it's obvious that the last time that index.dat file was written to was 7:40 a.m. at 18 seconds.
And the first time it was written to was 7:40 and 16 seconds.
That's when it was created, yes.
Right. And this was a dial-up situation, right?
Correct.
Which is much slower connections than we have today.
Much.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Any question?
No.
You may step down. Well, I know you want me to call another witness, but I'm not going to. Please don't read, watch, or listen to any account of the trial. Don't talk with others about the case. And if any of them somebody tries innocently to discuss the case with you when they find out you're a juror, just tell them, I'm on the jury and I can't talk about it and I can't let you talk about it. And if they keep talking, then walk away. And again, report that to me or one of the bailiffs. And let me ask that you come in at 8:55 tomorrow and have a great evening. Oh, tomorrow, okay, tomorrow. On AM, there's still a chance to get them if you want something said.
No.
Okay.
I think no.
Okay, thank you for that information. And now, one of the things that, and I won't hold you to it this one time, but you lawyers have got a bad habit of thinking too much at night, and then you come in the morning and you have some reason why we can't start right away. So, from now on, bring all this stuff up at night so we don't have to keep the jury waiting in the morning.
So no thinking that.
You want us to think?
No thinking at night. What?
You want us to think while we're in court?
Well, I can tell you that tomorrow we have some tapes, and I don't know which parts the state intends to use right now, and we'll be talking a little bit this evening, but there's certainly a possibility of some issues that are going to arise first thing tomorrow. And I also want to introduce some tapes, I think, on the under the doctrine of completeness, and I will be providing those to Mr. Jambois, and we'll try to work those out, but I know there are potential issues. Another thing, just so if there's some break tomorrow, those medical records, Judge, and I think that witness is scheduled probably for Thursday.
Well, Mr. Talley, you're talking
Yes.
about? Mr. Talley is, I believe, now here in the Walworth County Jail. And so we're going to want to get him up on the stand pretty quickly to get him out of the county jail and back to prison. So if we use Mr. Talley, he'll be coming up probably this week sometime.
Well,
But then we also have Dr. Chris Long, and I don't know how long he's going to take.
the record should reflect that, I opened someone's psychiatric records, even for an in-camera review, with the utmost reluctance. And in Mr. Talley's case, it is a unique situation that I am going to examine from the standpoint of having, unless I'm confusing him with someone else, and I don't think I am, from the standpoint of his motion that he filed in his own criminal case, which I interpret to be a complete waiver with respect to his medical privilege on psychiatric, but in the interest of caution, well, I guess I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I think I directed you to notify him that this matter was under scrutiny as to whether his medical records would be no? I thought I had.
I think you directed.
I thought I told the defense to notify him that the court was considering opening his medical records.
Well, my understanding the first time had been that the state was going to even get him on the phone for that last hearing in December, but I could be mistaken.
Well, I have no
See, I don't want to say he's waived his privilege without my having let him have my ear for a moment to try to talk me out of it. On the face of it, I would say that my bias is clearly that he's waived the privilege by his disclosures that he made in his motion seeking change in his sentence or a new trial, whatever it was. But I do think I ought to give him the opportunity to be heard on that. I suppose you say sometime this week?
Well, he's in custody in the Walworth County Jail, Your Honor, and we don't want to keep him there any longer than necessary, so it would be my expectation to get him on the stand and get him out of here as quickly as possible. But we also have Dr. Chris Long, who's in from St. Louis, and he arrived last night, I believe. So I was hoping to talk to him tonight and put him on the stand sometime tomorrow. But then also, there are these telephone conversations that really relate to the issue of David Thompson. And since Mr. Thompson has testified, I want to get those things on. So there's a lot of stuff I want to get done this week. And those three things, I guess, are at the top of the list. Starting with, I want to play the CDs to the jury tomorrow morning. The CDs that I intend to play are conversations between Mr. Jensen and his wife, where he's asking her to possibly get $1,000 to his parents, and then conversations with his parents where he's asking them about whether or not they've spoken to Kim, and giving them Kim's telephone number, and he's also talking to them about sitting on somebody and some new ideas that he's gotten from some people in the facility. In other words, conversations that tend to corroborate the proposition that he was seriously considering this idea of sitting on Mr. Klug and keeping him from testifying.
All right, and you say you may have some tapes to be considered in conjunction with them?
That's correct.
Well, and I think I know what the tapes are, and obviously it's the state's view that those are hearsay because they're statements the defendant made, and if he wants the defendant to testify about his reasoning about...
Are there transcripts of these tapes that I could take home and look at in advance?
Well, I only surmise which tapes counsel's referring to, so if he has them, I would imagine he's got them.
Well,
transcripts I prepared myself. I'm sorry, Judge, I don't think I brought them here.
But can you tell us what they are so that we can know whether we can anticipate, maybe resolve this issue tonight?
well, they're conversations in which Mr. Jensen is telling his parents that he needs to make a telephone call.
We need a very short break. About 5 minutes.
Okay.
Or 2 minutes. Well, do you at least have tapes, transcripts of your tapes?
We have some of them because a lot of them are back in my room, but there's some of them that are here. I can.
And Judge, I can tell you the tapes I have, they're, what I recall of them, they're along the lines of Mr. Jensen getting on the phone with his parents and saying, I gotta get rid of this headache. Can you call this number? Those kind of things. And at one point, Thompson grabs the... It's because Thompson's gonna beat him in the head again unless if he doesn't make these phone calls.
What are the dates, counsel?
I don't have them here.
See, because I've got are you talking, there's one from November 21st of 2007, where there's a conversation between Mark Jensen and his family. And this is long after this whole thing has come out, where...
This is sometime around September 8th.
Around September. I guess I don't know what counsel's referring to, so I'll have to see the transcript. in order for me to know whether I'm going to object to it coming in, and under the doctrine of completeness, counsel, I think there's no dispute between the parties. I don't think there's any dispute with the court in this either, that if the defense counsel is going to be offering statements of the defendant, they're normally hearsay. And so there's got to be some other circumstance in which they come in, and the doctrine of completeness might be an example of that. Is that you're offering the doctrine of completeness?
Yes, the case of State v. Anderson, which I can provide you tonight too.
So in other words, it's necessary to put in context the...
Well, I understand the rule. I guess I'm struggling with, if what he says is I've got to get rid of this headache, it doesn't sound like it's being offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted, or even if it is, that it's an exception under the rule of a present sense and not a...
Well, I think it's hearsay. I don't understand I don't understand how it comes in. I don't understand.
Subsection 3, what's the name of that?
What?
Right.
Subsection 3.
Of 908.03?
I would think Mr. Jamowitz would remember it. He cited it so many times in this case.
Don't overestimate my memory.
By the way, Judge, did you see that the United States Supreme Court has accepted the forfeiture case out of California?
The one you cited?
Yes.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
I think Friday.
You mean the one you cited to say that the hearsay rules still apply?
Well, they didn't accept it on that ground.
They accepted it.
They accepted it on the defendant's petition to decide whether forfeiture applies. I think that the issue the defendant raised is whether there has to be proof that the defendant acted with the intent to prevent the person from testifying.
And my thoughts on the subject are very well known.
And soon we'll find out what the Supreme Court has to say about it, I guess, huh?
And then whatever they say, it'll be the law of the land, you know?
Let's say that the defendant makes a statement to his parents over the telephone at some point. I've got to get rid of this headache.
Then existing mental, emotional, or physical condition.
Well, it's a statement by the defendant. And
A statement of the declarant's then existing sensation or physical condition, such as pain and bodily health. If that's the limitation of the statement, that would just seem to me...
how's it relevant? How's it relevant?
Well, when you're talking about hearsay relevance, those are two different rules.
I understand, and I don't see how it's relevant that the defendant was telling his parents he needs to get rid of a headache.
I'd have to hear the tapes to be able to make a decision about that.
I'm saying it's completeness because we'll be...
Well, here.
And I know you don't have it. That's right.
No, I can't tell you anything on that subject. I gather from what each of you has said that there are in existence somewhere transcripts of what is believed to be on these CDs.
Not all of them.
Well, then, why don't you ask someone at the police department to see that they're prepared before morning?
Oh, we could transfer. Oh, okay. Well,
And then if you can, then I can look at them. If you want to call Dr. Long in the morning, I can look at the transcripts and get an idea. And you apparently have transcripts as well.
I have transcripts. I don't have all the calls.
Well, you have transcripts of the ones you want to have
Well,
presented.
I have my transcripts and CDs. I don't have all their CDs. Which I was hoping to get tonight so we can listen to them.
Is there more? I assume there's more than one copy in existence.
more than one copy of the transcripts, more than one copy of the CD.
Well, the transcripts would be easy to reproduce. The CDs would have to be reproduced. And I'm assuming that there is an original somewhere and all you have is a copy.
What I have are CDs, which I believe we have provided to defense counsel. And we met last night. Mr. Alabi and I met last night, and I showed him what I had, and actually I gave it to him so he could take it back to his room and compare what I'd given him to what he had in his room. And when
And I came back and said, I don't have the CDs. And I said that this morning again, that I don't have the CDs.
Well, what did you do? Pull a fast one? What do you have? CDs that don't work in your computer?
No, I don't have
The CDs.
I don't have the CDs. I have transcripts of these conversations. I do not have the CDs with all the conversations.
Where are the original CDs? At the sheriff's office.
Well, I imagine they kept, I don't know if they kept some originals or not. We have CDs and I was of the impression we provided copies of them, but Ms. Gabrielle and I will go over those tonight. We'll provide, well, we can't make copies tonight in our hotel room of these CDs, but if we have duplicates that Mr. Albee does not have, we will provide them to him. I believe that I have duplicates of, I believe I have sufficient copies of these CDs that I can provide one or more copies that he and I all have CDs of the conversations that we seek to introduce into evidence to.
Okay. And there is a transcript of each of them in the hands of one or both of the lawyers.
Not of the entire conversation, but of the portions. There is one CD where we have a portion of that transcript. We have a transcript of the portion of that, but there's more of that I want to get in than is on that transcript. But otherwise, pretty much everything we want to get in, we've got transcripts of, with that one exception.
Well, how do we deal with the one exception of introducing something that I don't know what it is?
You will know what it is because I'm going to provide you with a CD, and I'll tell you it's the last 3 minutes or so, and the transcript is only the last minute or so, but it's the last 3 minutes or so of that CD that I want to introduce into evidence. It's a statement, it's the statement by the defendant, speaking with, at that point I believe it's his parents. And the only way to keep it out would be if it's irrelevant or it's unfairly prejudicial, and it relates to the conversations that occurred between Mr. Jensen and Mr. Thompson. So I don't see how it could be unfairly prejudicial.
Well, I don't argue about it until I've got it in front of me because it'll mean nothing until I'm there. Get what transcripts you have and a short summary which you can prepare this evening as to what you believe this mystery 3 minutes at the end of the tape is, and submit those to Mr. Albee and to me first thing in the morning. And he will do the same with the transcripts that he's got. And then call Dr. Long in the morning and at sometime during the course of the day, we'll have to get
Your Honor, I truly believe that this issue can be resolved in a matter of a few minutes tomorrow morning, and I would prefer to play the CDs to the jury tomorrow morning before Dr. Long testifies. Simply so it is more linked up in the jury's mind with what David Thompson said. I think Dr. Long's testimony is going to be pretty lengthy and detailed, and I would very much prefer to put these CDs in before Dr. Long's testimony. I really don't think it'll take very long for us to address this tomorrow morning. And if you'd like, I mean, I could be here at 8:45 tomorrow morning, and we could discuss it at 8:45. So as not to keep the jury waiting too long.
Why do I think you're wrong? But anyway, we'll see. I'm trying to think how to get Mr. Talley over here so that before I start either reading in camera or releasing his psychiatric records, that he has an opportunity to say something about it.
Well, maybe that's something we could do tomorrow after we release the jury. Maybe we release the jury at 4:15 or 4:30 tomorrow, and we can take that up to bring Mr. Talley over and take it up outside the presence of the jury with Mr. Talley.
That's probably a good idea. All right, well, do what I said tonight, and then we'll take up this matter in the morning. If it gets lengthy, though, I reserve the right to derail it, and we'll go on to Dr. Long then, so have him available.
And Judge, I'd like to move to strike Rhonda Mitchell's testimony regarding the number of internet hits and the time during which those hits took place on the same grounds. She ultimately didn't know how any of that information was compiled.
That's not my recollection.
That was not, no, that wasn't my recollection. What did you want to say? I thought you wanted.
Well, just as with the chart, when it came to the hits, she didn't know what they counted, whether they counted cookies, whether they counted files, whether they counted history, none of that stuff. And she was testifying as though she knew how many internet hits, and I don't think there's any accurate, reliable information before the jury on that they should be able to rely upon.
Well, after in fact, at the time that I granted your motion to strike the exhibits, my reasoning was, sometimes judges strike testimony when it's discovered that the person hath not the competence to render the opinions, and consequently, I thought, well, I can do the same thing with an exhibit that's done with live testimony. But it really is quite an unusual measure to actually strike something, and you really have to make quite a demonstration to have something struck. And I actually think, I may think about it, because being a lawyer, I do think about things at night, and I may think maybe I acted too hastily in doing that. I don't know. And it may, maybe I'll even look it up as to whether, under what circumstances, something that's already been received should be stricken from the record.
It was admitted subject to cross-examination, was what was understood each time, and then on cross-examination, it was clear she didn't have the
Well, I suppose you're right about
background
that.
information on it. And so, I guess on that theory, I don't have a basis to strike testimony, but ultimately it was the exhibit's foundation that there wasn't a basis for. But I still think the court could strike the testimony. But it also is clear that she didn't have a basis for it based on the cross-examination.
Well, and I think that's what you'll have to rely primarily upon, because the jury now knows that she says, well, I can't exactly define what a hit is. So that's for the jury to decide. And frankly, I wouldn't strike very much of it if I did strike anything. And if I did, it would take so long to try to tell the jury what is and what isn't struck that it's really unfeasible to do, even if I were of a mind to do it. But I don't want to suggest that I am, because I'm not. I'll leave the exhibits which were stricken out for now, although that's up to what further developments may occur in the case. And anything else?
No.
No, Judge.
Okay, I'll see you in the morning.
Thank you.